Chapter 29 The Scientist. After leaving their rest stop, Graham had carried on driving, not really knowing if the direction in which they were heading in would result in a library, and by inference a scientist, to help them understand their current predicament. As he drove on, Graham realized it was apparent that road signs weren't high on the agenda for the local highways department. He and Bouncer had covered what seemed the whole journey without any indication as to where they were going or had come from. Eventually, though, they arrived at a major junction, graciously adorned with a proud and informative road sign, declaring that Salzburg was 35 kilometers further down the road, to the left. "Wasn't Einstein Austrian?" asked Bouncer. "Yeah, I think he was," replied Graham as he took the left turn and started to close in on Salzburg. "Well, I was thinking, he knew his biscuits when it comes to physics. Perhaps we should just concentrate on finding him." "Not a bad shout apart from one fairly serious problem," offered Graham. "Oh, what's that?" "He moved to the United States in 1933. "Oh, right," accepted Bouncer. "That is a problem. At least for the immediate future." "Don't worry, Bouncer, we'll find someone," said Graham convincingly. "Germany was full of clever types during the 1930s. I just hope they haven't all moved somewhere else." A little over half an hour later, the density of buildings they traveled through started to increase. They were arriving at the outskirts of Salzburg. Any library would more than likely be towards the center, and in the case of the Universitätsbibliothek Salzburg, or Salzburg University Library, founded in 1652, it was located at Hofstallgasse 2. After parking up in a back street, Graham shifted into human form and joined Bouncer on the street. "Right then, do you think we'll be able to just cruise on in?" asked Bouncer. "I'm not sure. I think it best if we check out the clientele first. If we see anything that causes us concern, we can bolt. Look, there is a cafe over there," said Graham, pointing to a small street-side coffee shop. Bouncer looked both himself and Graham up and down. Graham, do you think we'll blend as we're dressed?" Graham stopped and did the same and had to admit that Bouncer had a point. "Yup, I see what you mean." Looking around the street, they soon spotted some passers-by and recalibrated their phase shifters to suit. "We'll find some real clothes later, but for now we'll have to rely on our shifters." Neither Graham nor Bouncer were approached as they walked through the main doors to the library. Fortunately for them, the library department had a different attitude to signage than the highways department, meaning there was plenty of information pointing them to the reference section. The only people in the reference section appeared to be university students. The rapidly developing war in Europe seemed to have not yet have affected their studies. Pointing to a section of shelving, Graham led Bouncer across the reading tables. "You start at the end and I'll go from here. Search for quantum mechanics." Within a few minutes, Graham had found a book referencing the 1927 Solvay Conference, possibly the greatest meeting of minds the world had ever seen. There were 29 attendees, 17 of which either had or would go on to get Nobel Prizes, mostly for their contributions to quantum theory. The list read like a who's who of early 20th century physics excellence: Picard, Henriette, Arifest, Herzen, de Donder, Schrödinger, Verschaffelt, Pauli, Heisenberg, Fowler, Brillouin, Debye, Knudsen, Bragg, Kramers, Dirac, Compton, de Broglie, Born, Bohr, Langmuir, Planck, Curie, Lorentz, Einstein, Langevin, Guy, Wilson, Richardson. Graham turned and whispered loudly to Bouncer. "Come here, Bouncer. I'll think I have found what we are looking for. We just need to find one of these."